Just for context, this is actually episode 4 of the season 3 of the new account series, so go check those out if you want to see the previous strays. Shadow Milk sucks in PvE unless he's shoehorned into the Seed Trio. I needed to say that to compensate for using him in Alliance last episode. So, instead it's Linsering time. Tray 18 does a full heal when it reaches about 15 million, so you can actually play around that and use anti-heal, or you can just kill it twice. Up next we have Tray 19, where the boss applies an insanely strong bleed on its attacks while also dispelling buffs. Would I have gone Herb Monocle and combated the Tray mechanics? Yes. Does Explosive Burn apply here? Yes. Guess which method I used to clear. The funny part is that using Herb Monocle would have been less effort than retrying the stage over and over with Fire Spirit solo. I even tried using Watch to see if that let me get another cast off, but doesn't seem like it. Now it turns out the issue was that I was not using Eternal Sugar. Global 25 to 32% damage amp with no drawbacks is just slightly broken. Up next is the Freeze Tray, where the boss auto wins if you don't freeze it. So Frost Queen's Crystal Jam is highly recommended. Having an actual biscuit on the healer is also recommended. I decided to try to ignore boss mechanics and Unga Bunga the stage. But in the end, the attack speed down from applying Frost is just too good at nullifying the boss. Freezing also helps, but Eternal Sugar can crowd control it anyway lol, and even though the minions have been nerfed, they're still really tough to deal with. Well, since Sherbert was actually close to working, I guess I should actually go and build him. Alright, build complete. This is not an endorsement for PvE Shadow Milk, I just didn't have another cookie that would live the boss. Putting Sherbert in the hall would have also made this stage significantly easier, but I was lazy. And I keep on reiterating that Shadow Milk is not for PvE because I've seen so many people use him in PvE. He's not good there, stop using him except maybe BCs and RVD. Also, can anybody explain how Sharou lives that? Level 70, 0 damage rest, no biscuit, and no iframes, and he lives the explosion. He has overhealing into heal conversion, but like, considering that one-shot Shadow Milk, I don't think that makes up for his poor stats. But anyway, reading this is unfortunately not meta here. It is however perfectly viable for the next tray. Did Sharp do anything here? Nope. He is only on the team because I was too lazy to swap him out. I believe Fire Spirit and Eternal Sugar also apply weakness, so I can at least fill up the boss charge bar. And who needs to read anyway? I remember this tray actually being difficult, so I did actually swap my team this time. And to be completely honest, a Monochrome of Thought was overkill. Oh, and I guess Shadow Milk is okay-ish in this tray. You can tank a couple of one-shots, that's about it. And then, does anybody remember how diabolically difficult and stat-shaky this tray was? So anyway, Tray 24 did prove to be quite challenging. I just assumed either PV or Linzer had enough of a delay on their skills to dodge the burst attack. Turns out 1, no, and 2, Linzer steals the APV revive as well, so I'm left without a healer or debuffer in this tray. Never mind. Also, that was my first attempt. Who needs healers or support when you can have an improved ES passive? And finally, we have the Sandworm. A really fun tray that on release forces you to learn about the boss's mechanics and attack patterns, and you could only really pass it if you knew what you were doing and could cancel the 150 hit shields. The main mechanic of this boss is that taunting the boss fills up the purple meter, and when it's full the boss is stunned and takes an insane amount of damage. Plus, the boss actually deals damage. Looks like a second brain cell is required for this. There's a couple notable taunters for the stage, mainly Knight because of his absurdly low cooldown and accessibility, as well as Nutmeg who provides insanely high burst healing at the cost of much fewer taunts. And apparently something else is filling up the bar here, but for the life of me I do not know what it is. Like, the taunt meter is getting like little bumps here and there, and I don't know what's causing that, because if a taunt is applied, it should apply like nearly 20% of the bar. But anyway, not too bad of a tray considering how the others have been. Mandatory post session incoming. Another benefit of starting during the legendary rate up banner was that every one-time source of special cutters went to said banner, and the higher expected value of legendary soul zones is pretty damn nice. Nothing too spectacular this session though. A bit later I got a legendary magic biscuit from Beasties, so I would prefer fire for PvE spirit. I'll need cooldown for a guild later. Okay. Thanks to Airbusters and the trades, I had a few thousand radiant though to spare. Since 5.9 5.7 is a pretty good base and I need a cooldown biscuit for 2 guild bosses, the radiants are pretty worth it. It could have gone worse. A bit later I was just doing a few pulls and I got this gem. I was already guaranteed to get her via her Banner's Pity, but another 20 soul stones won't hurt. Plus I have enough crystals to get her CJ. I was ready to leave the video at trade 25, but then... well, now I just have to give the rest a shot. Starting off with trade 26, uniquely trades 26 through 35 of a 3-minute timer rather than a 2-minute one. And if you know anything about Black Lemonade, then boy, the devs messed up. So, the gimmick of trade 26 is that it constantly ramps up its damage while taking low non-crit damage. So you could try to speedrun the boss or run APV and completely outdo the ramping damage. Surprisingly, Eternal Sugar Hyper was close, so if that almost worked, why not try Eternal Sugar Hyper? Surprisingly enough, it worked. And up next we have the first of many Element Slop trays. The very creatively made reduce all non-X damage mechanic that definitely needed to be reprinted on multiple trays. At least this one also has a resemblance of a gimmick through the heals and infinitely stacking bleed. And yes, the bleeds are effectively infinite, so I do need a cleanser alongside some form of a sap to remove shields. So the ever-reliable Clover is here to save the day. Okay, I need a real healer. And I also need to actually raise Black Lemonade. Unfortunately, since it's only day 4, I don't have a topping reserve at all, so plus 0 raspberries should do. My biscuit isn't much better either. But now with a proper healer alongside Clover, I was in fact able to survive the boss. So now we have a different issue, damage. Considering 2 of my team slots are purely defensive, even with the 3-minute timer, my damage was nowhere near enough. So maybe Star Coral works. She provides enough healing while also giving crit, attack speed, and no. Stormbringer Monocle? Still a no. Well, if Zap applies and Star Coral Monocle is enough to sustain the whole fight, of course the answer was Beeltwiz. When would it not be Beeltwiz? Hey, Trey's back! I love this Trey! At first I tried EF thinking I was dying to a large single hit, but then I noticed the burn so I brought Monocle instead. Trey 28, although gimmickless, is still quite skill expressive. Because of how often the Stardust boss enters iframes or invincibility, it actually does take quite a bit of learning to figure out when you're actually able to use your skills. You can see through this part of the video how I'm slowly wasting fewer skills to iframes. As well as getting better at timing Monocle. Well, sometimes it's impossible to time because Twist just evaporates before all 4 burns are up. So removing Twist is probably the solution. After a bit of trouble with Black Lemonade, I went back to standard double DPS, and I'm starting to get there in terms of recognizing boss attacks. My mono timings aren't quite as on point, however. This is just a single burn stack, by the way. After finally getting a run that lived all the way through, I was 10 million off. So maybe better timings could cover those 10 million? Damn it. Eventually, I got fed up and ran Black Lemonade again. But this makes Monocle much harder to time now that I have to worry about 2 very fragile cookies. Like in this run where I timed Mono correctly for Black Lemonade, but Linzer had her own plans. Played out the run anyway, and accounting for the ramping damage and Linzer not dying, I do at least have the damage for this stage. Eventually, I did manage to get this run. So, I can't really explain exactly how the boss works, but I'm pretty sure the boss just has like internal cooldowns for all of its skills that it just uses whenever they're available, basically. So you can kind of get into the rhythm and kind of guesstimate when the boss is going to use the healed attack next, or it's going to use the Mega Explosion attack next, or it's going to use the Flight attack next. So it doesn't have to be purely memory, but it does help quite a bit. And surprisingly enough, even though the boss goes untargetable during the carpet bombing attack, it never happens when you need your Black Lemonade to cast. And despite Black Lemonade getting CC'd, he also never, like, runs out of ERS stacks. Which is a miracle, because that would have been horrible. I mean, sometimes I still hold Eternal Sugar for a bit, and if the boss is doing a bunch of feather attacks, I end up using her. That was a close call. But yeah. And if you made it all the way here, liking and subscribing would really help the channel. I post videos that I don't think other CRK YouTubers make, like, similarly. So subscribing just basically notifies you on whenever I upload, and if you've made it all the way here, you probably enjoyed the video so far, and it would help a lot. YouTube ramble over, and the tray is almost over. It's very close, but we do have one more cast. So, with quite literally 1 second to spare, it doesn't get better than this. But like, actually, the rest of the trays are boring as hell, I'm not gonna lie. Like this tray, for example. This is the third tray where the gimmick is the boss deals massive DOT damage. Need I remind you that this is the fourth new tray. Also, the boss is considered a cookie, so any take of damage that deals percent HP damage also does a bonus 300k. Brought a terrible team here, but it didn't end up mattering. Up next is a tray 30, an electric stat check tray, with the gimmick being a massive death beam appearing 1 minute in. So I tried actually playing into the tray mechanics, and you can guess how trying to win a stat check without stats went. And then I thought, wouldn't it be funny if the massive Mega Death Beam didn't bypass Elder Fairy? Well, it in fact doesn't. So now I need a HP sub on his Biscuit to give another cookie a Prism Shard. Technically I should get 2 HP lines, but with Awakened Pure Vanilla I only need 1 because of the revive. I held Elder Fairy's skill here because I didn't want to waste any Prism Shards on regular attacks. And a bit of BL shenanigans later. Well, I don't really have anything to add, it's just Black Lemonade. Oh, Amber, holy crap, Amber, holy moly, Ambers! Up next is Tray 31, which is just a Fire Spirit check. The gimmick of the boss is that it barely takes non-fire damage. Pair that with injury and an absurdly high damage output, this tray isn't Black Lemonadeable, unfortunately. So since Fire Spirit is the obvious choice of DPS, the question now is, which version of him? At first I tried him in a 5-fire comp since it multiplies his damage by like 3 times, but that does also mean the rest of my comp is completely useless. So I tried him with Eternal Sugar and Full Sustain. I drastically reduce my damage, but I'll also drastically increase how long I survive, so I'm hoping that'll be enough. But with my poor stats, living long is a bit of a fantasy. I swapped out Mystic Flower for Linzer since she died instantly anyway, and the results are pretty promising. Then I remembered Fire Spirit gets a massive damage multiplier on just 4 fire, meaning that I can have 1 real teammate. Yeah, no, that was horrible. So I guess I have to roll with actual teammates. I am getting closer though. Until eventually, while the full run is playing, I would like to say that this tray is plain stupid and boring. It's just, do you have a fire DPS, and then the only viable fire DPSs are like Fire Spirit and Burning Spice, and I guess Taten if your account is super decked out. But if your account is super decked out, then just use Fire Spirit or Burning Spice, and most likely just Fire Spirit. Just the new batches of trays have been horrible when it comes to being well designed, because 1 through 15 were innovative and really fun. 16 through 25, really cool gimmicks, especially for the cookies they were balanced around at the time. But then the new batch of trays are just like, guides were up 30 minutes after release. Like, are you serious? But anyway, and now we have another big damage resist if not X-type boss. So my first intuition was to use Black Lemonade instead of an Earth DPS. But I needed to give her some form of debuff immunity, otherwise she gets CC'd and fails to stack DRS. I removed Eternal Sugar's Biscuit to get Burnt Cheese's buff to target Black Lemonade. But then since Linzer died, I tried Team White debuff Res instead. And that damage isn't very promising. So maybe I needed a better ERS procer? But somehow the damage got even worse. So now I'm thinking that since I don't have a serviceable BL build, most of the damage on ES attempts actually came from ES herself. So I picked up Black Lemonade's Crystal Jam thinking that maybe that non-earth damage reduction is considered a form of damage res. But either way, it doesn't matter, I am far from having enough non-earth damage. But since I just have an Awakened Golden Keys in my back pocket, I decided to get her and see if I could raw DPS the tray. I didn't want to use up my Soulstone selectors yet just in case, and since I do have the Might of the Ancients event, I could use that. But first, I need to pull and see if I hit either Golden Keys or White Lily so I can use the Might of the Ancients event to get the other cookie that I'm missing. Well, that was easy. This game loves me. Oh, since I have White Lily now, I can freely pick Golden Keys. And to claim the Awakened Golden Keys in my back pocket. Because everybody has that. Who doesn't just have Awakened Ancients lying around? And a quick damage check. With Linzer. 3 mil off one skill with the Linzer debuff. Yep, seems like more than enough damage. And not too bad. Up next is a decently interesting tray. Tray 33 consists of Cake Wrath, which deals very high damage and ramps up very quickly. Enough damage to KO Eternal Sugar and Shadow Milk within a minute is pretty impressive for a tray. I was definitely struggling a bit with this tray until I decided to look at the recommended cookies and I thought, why is Rebel there? There's no way defense down applies. Oh my god, it actually applies. What the hell? Okay, scratch everything, I need to reach 100% defense down first and foremost. And who better to fill out that missing 16% defense down than Black Lemonade herself? 100% defense down is just an incredible amount of damage amp, even compared to the 84% that Rebel provides by himself. Ah. Alright, I just need a little bit more damage, I guess. Anyone as a 5th cookie would have worked, but I just chose Shadow Milk for his bulk and his 2 phases, Okay, I guess I chose Shadow Milk for his bulk and his singular phase. That works. 2 to go. Since this tray punishes high hit counts, I thought it'd be smart to just put off Black Lemonade this time. On an Epics only challenge, this tray was actually really fun. Optimizing my Titan build as well as learning when the boss reflects damage and avoiding casting skills during that time is interesting. On this count, straight up brainless. That leaves the final tray, Tray 35. I love the very descriptive description of the boss. The boss deals damage. Use healers. Amazing. Interesting thing to note, the boss is doing a suspiciously similar amount of damage to all of my cookies. Unfortunately, the boss's heals and shields, so this comp isn't enough damage. So naturally, I brought Linzer. Surprisingly enough, the boss that's able to kill Eternal Sugar doesn't one-shot Linzer. To me, that sounds like the boss deals primarily max HP true damage, similar to Tray 17. Well, this run had neither the damage or the survivability, but I have an idea. When in doubt, BL it out. Let's ignore the fact that I completely missed BL's defense down applying and I would have rebelled this tray as well, but since a lot of this tray's bulk comes from healing, ramping damage can amply counter that. I did however run into survivability issues. With Eternal Sugar, it's a weird quirk of max HP true damage since it causes cookies with higher HP to actually be more frail, since healers need to heal a larger amount of HP to heal back the damage. Frailer cookies are actually tankier, so who else but Twizzly Gummy misses sub 2000 base HP? And it seems like Zap applies as well, so that's a good bonus. Okay, one more time then. And that is actually about it for this video. If you want to look at trays that aren't too reliant on higher rarity cookies, I do have an epics only, well, nearly epics only clear of 26 through 35. And this account is, well, was a newer account, so it's just to showcase that if you have the right luck and you know enough about the game, The Choco tray is actually pretty damn easy. But anyway, that is it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, and if this does well, I might do more new account stuff. I still have the recordings. If it doesn't, oh well. See you later.